In the heart of the emerald woods, where silver mist curled around towering oaks and rivers shimmered like liquid moonlight, there lived a fox named Ronan. Ronan was clever, fast, and fiercely proud. He had spent his entire life relying on his cunning, never helping anyone, and believed he feared nothing. The other creatures of the forest kept their distance, knowing that kindness was a weakness he did not tolerate. But one stormy night, as the wind howled and tore at the trees, everything changed forever. Ronan was crouched beneath the sturdy branches of an ancient oak, watching the storm unleash its fury, when a sound pierced the chaos. There was a faint, desperate whimper, a cry for help that seemed to tug at something deep within him. Against all his instincts, he found himself creeping toward the sound. There, soaked and trembling in the cold rain, was a tiny puppy no bigger than a rabbit. Its fur was matted with mud. Its eyes, wide with terror, reflected the flashing lightning. Ronan's first reaction was a low growl. "Lost and useless, huh?" "Not my problem." He turned to leave. But just then, the puppy tried to stand on its wobbly legs and immediately slipped, falling back into the mud with a soft cry. An unfamiliar feeling tightened in Ronan's chest, a feeling he hadn't known in years: compassion. He gritted his teeth and muttered to himself, "Fine." Just for tonight, he gently gathered the shivering puppy in his fur and carried it to the dry shelter beneath the oak. Through the long, dark night, the puppy shivered beside him. Ronan tried to ignore it, to remain the cold, detached fox he had always been. But every tiny whimper seemed to break through the roaring storm outside. Finally, in a small, shaky voice, the puppy whispered, "Thank you for saving me." Ronan snarled softly, trying to push the feeling away. "Don't thank me. I didn't do it for you." But as the night wore on, he found himself staying close, instinctively shielding the small body from the biting wind and cold rain. The fox's heart, long buried under layers of cunning and pride, began to stir. By dawn, the storm had passed, leaving the forest washed clean. The puppy was safe, but it was hopelessly lost and couldn't find its way home. Ronan sighed. A part of him wanted to leave the puppy and return to his solitary life, but another, newer part refused, and so together they set off on a journey through the dense emerald woods. At first, Ronan was impatient. He scolded the puppy for stumbling over roots and for being too slow. He was the swift, clever fox, and this was an inconvenience. But then a shadow fell across their path. A lean, hungry wolf emerged from the trees, its eyes fixed on the small, vulnerable puppy. Before the wolf could even make a move, Ronan leapt in front of the little creature, his claws bared and a fierce snarl on his lips. The wolf lunged, and Ronan dodged with lightning speed, slashing with his claws to defend the puppy. The little creature barked in fear, but Ronan's courage shone like a beacon. He drove the wolf back into the shadows. "You're safe for now," he muttered, his breath coming in ragged bursts. As they continued their journey, the puppy looked up at him with wide, curious eyes. "Why are you helping me? You don't even know me." Ronan's ears twitched. He didn't have a simple answer. He glanced away, a strange new honesty surfacing. "Maybe I'm tired of being alone." The path soon led them to the river of reflection, a wide, fast-flowing stream lined with slick, mossy stones. The currents were strong and treacherous. One false step meant being swept away. Ronan, with his natural agility, leapt from stone to stone with ease. He reached the other side and turned back, expecting the puppy to follow. But the little one faltered, its paws slipping on a wet rock. With a yelp, it tumbled into the roaring water, pulled swiftly toward the dangerous rapids. Without a moment's hesitation, Ronan dove into the icy river. He fought against the powerful current with sheer strength and determination, his muscles straining. He reached the puppy, grabbed it firmly by the scruff of its neck, and hauled it back to the safety of the riverbank. The puppy trembled, soaked and scared. "You saved me again," it cried. Ronan shook his wet fur, water flying everywhere. He looked at the little creature and muttered, "You're heavier than you look, and you're making me care." And for the first time, Ronan realized this journey wasn't just about saving a lost puppy. It was about saving himself from the cold, empty fortress he had built around his own heart. The next challenge loomed ahead, the treacherous cliff of shadows, a jagged mountain where the wind shrieked like 1,000 ghostly voices. The narrow path crumbled beneath their paws, and the darkness itself seemed alive, whispering doubts into their ears. "You'll fall," it hissed at Ronan. "You're too weak to save him." The puppy's paws trembled, and in its fear, Ronan saw a reflection of his own deepest anxieties, the fear of failing, of losing, of being powerless. "Hold on," he barked, his voice cutting through the wind. He gripped the puppy's scruff and hauled it up with all his strength. The cliff seemed impossible, but step by step, claw by claw, they climbed together, a team forged in adversity. When they finally reached the peak, the view stunned them. A glowing valley stretched out below, a peaceful land untouched by shadow. The puppy's home was somewhere in the distance. But the most dangerous test was yet to come. As they descended into the valley, the ground began to shake. They had reached the Ashen Hollow, a scarred landscape of fire and smoke left behind by an ancient lightning strike. Smoldering embers glowed in blackened pits, and the air was thick with soot. The puppy, suddenly recognizing the area, ran ahead, barking excitedly. "I know my home. It's right there." In its excitement, it didn't see the ground crumble under its paws. With a cry, the puppy tumbled into a deep pit filled with glowing hot embers. "Puppy," Ronan shouted, his heart leaping into his throat. The old Ronan, the one who always ran from trouble, would have fled. But this was a new Ronan, and a powerful force surged through him, courage now tempered by love. He leapt into the pit, his claws digging into hot rock and ash, and snatched the puppy just as the flames licked at its fur. Smoke choked them, and the heat was immense, but they scrambled out, panting and singed, but together. The puppy, safe in his care, licked Ronan's ear. You saved me." Ronan's voice trembled with emotion. "No, we saved each other." Finally, they reached their destination. A small, cozy cottage nestled in the valley, with smoke curling from its chimney. A family ran out, their faces streaked with tears of joy, and scooped up their beloved puppy in a flurry of hugs. Ronan watched from the shadows, his heart pounding. He had expected to feel proud, but instead he felt a deep, quiet connection. The puppy barked once, a sound of goodbye and gratitude. As the sun began to rise, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink, Ronan turned to leave, his journey complete. But a small paw touched his fur. The puppy looked up at him, its eyes shining with a question. "Will you come visit?" Ronan's tail, which had been still, flicked slowly. A small, genuine smile touched his lips. He nodded. The proud, cunning fox was forever changed. He finally understood what it meant to love, to care, and to be needed. As he walked back toward the woods, the forest seemed to whisper his new name, Ronan, the kind. True courage isn't found in strength or cunning alone, but in the compassion we show to others. Even the coldest heart can be melted by a single act of kindness, and sometimes, in the process of saving another, we end up saving ourselves. The fox walked home, but he was no longer alone. He walked with hope, with purpose, and with a heart that was finally full of light. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales from the heart.